Sétí ọmọ aládé gbogbo nígbàgbọ́ wípé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń gbọ́ lẹ́yìn náà máa sọ fún àwọn ìyókù kárí ilé kárí òkun tí gbogbo ó sì péjú pésẹ̀ síbi ìwọ́de àlágbá yamuyamu gàlújá tó pọ̀ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Amẹ́ríkà yìí Yorùbá Nation Diaspora Mega Rally in alliance with Yorùbá World Media àti Yorùbá Nation Self Determination àpọ̀dọ̀ kan ṣàgbékalẹ̀ New York Super Mega Rally ọjọ́ mẹ́ta gbáko ló máa fi wáyé bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọjọ́ ìṣẹ́gun Tuesday ọjọ́ kọkàndínlógún oṣù kẹsàn-án títí di ọjọ́bọ̀ Thursday ọjọ́ kọkànlélógún oṣù kẹsàn-án bákan náà látago méje òwúrọ̀ títí di agogo mẹ́rin ìrọ̀lẹ́ New York Times láti máa gbójú pésẹ̀ gbó sókè rárá fáyé gbọ́ wípé ó tó gẹ́ Yorùbá Self Determination is our right Yorùbá fẹ́ dádúró a fẹ́ kúrò lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ta a fẹ́ kúrò nínú ìnira orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà bá a sì ń rọ gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wa jákèjádò àgbáyé tó bọ̀ wá síbi rálì yìí wípé ká pàdé lọ́jọ́rú ogúnjọ́ oṣù kẹsàn-án ní rally location 78 UM General Assembly 405 West 45 Street New York City New York 10017 fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé síwájú sí tàbí fún ọ̀kan ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n ìbéèrè tẹ́ bá ní ẹ̀kan sí wa látòrí èyíkéyìí wẹ́bsáìtì yìí www.megarally.org tàbí www.yorubaworldmedia.com ó sì lè jẹ́ www.ystm.org bákan náà ní ẹ lè pè tàbí kẹ́ fi àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ sọwọ́ sí Prophet Ayọ̀délé Ológunlolúwa lórí +1 803 846 1116 Mrs. Jùmọ̀kẹ́ Ògúnlẹ́yẹ lórí +1 347 708 19 Dr. Sabi lórí +447 440 715 542 Mr. Gani Alágbàlá lórí +1 713 875 3339 Koiki Media lórí +447 594 050 979 Yálóde YGM lórí +447 442 177 677 Mr. Abiodun Ojo lórí +1 347 301 8360 ẹ má gbàgbé wípé a fẹ́ kí gbogbo ènìyàn tó pọ̀ lágbàáyé ti wà ní sẹpẹsẹpẹ ní venue lọ́jọ́ Wednesday ogúnjọ́ oṣù kẹsàn-án lọ́jọ́ tó jẹ́ dídé gan láti sọ fún gbogbo ayé wípé ó tó gẹ́.
wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe bí Ọlọ́run ọba wọ́n ní kò lè pọ̀ sí ipò àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí sí àwọn ìpè kò lè pọ̀ sí ipò wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe bí Ọlọ́run ọba wọ́n ní kò lè pọ̀ sí ipò àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí sí àwọn ìpè kò lè pọ̀ sí ipò wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe Ọlọ́run ọba wọ́n ní kò lè pọ̀ sí ipò àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí sí àwọn wípé kò lè bọ́ sí ọ̀rọ̀ òṣì wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá bá mi ṣe wọ́n ní sọ́sàlẹ̀ wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣoṣo lọ́wọ́ wọ́n ní kò lè bọ́ sí àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá bá mi ṣe wọ́n ti bí sí àwọn wípé kò lè bọ́ sí ọ̀rọ̀ òṣì wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá bá mi ṣe wọ́n ní sọ́sàlẹ̀ wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣoṣo lọ́wọ́ wọ́n ní kò lè bọ́ sí àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá bá mi ṣe wọ́n ti bí sí àwọn wípé kò lè bọ́ sí ọ̀rọ̀ òṣì wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá bá mi ṣe wọ́n ní.
Yorùbá wọn lọ̀rọ̀ ikàn pátápátá la sì ń lọ gbọ́ ẹ̀tàn tantan sétí ọmọ aládé gbogbo nígbàgbọ́ wípé bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń gbọ́ lẹ́yìn náà máa sọ fún àwọn ìyókù kárí ilé kárí òkú tí gbogbo wọn sì kéjú pèsè síbi ìwọ́de àlágbá yamuyamu dàlújá tó ń bọ̀ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Amẹ́ríkà yìí Yorùbá Nation Diaspora Mega Rally in alliance with Yorùbá World Media àti Yorùbá Nation Self-Determination arákọ̀dọ̀ kan ṣàgbékalẹ̀ New York Super Mega Rally ọjọ́ mẹ́ta gbáko ló máa fi wáyé bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọjọ́ ìṣẹ́gun Tuesday ọjọ́ kọkàndínlógún oṣù kẹsàn-án títí di ọjọ́bọ̀ Thursday ọjọ́ kọkànlélógún oṣù kẹsàn-án bákan náà látago méje òwúrọ̀ títí di agogo mẹ́rin ìrọ̀lẹ́ New York time láti máa péjú pésẹ̀ gbóhùn sókè rárá fáyé gbọ́ wípé ó tó gẹ́ Yorùbá self-determination is our life Yorùbá fẹ́ dádúró a fẹ́ kúrò lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀tàn a fẹ́ kúrò nínú ìnira orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjà tá a sì rọ gbogbo àwọn èèyàn wa jákèjádò àgbáyé tó bọ̀ wá síbi rálì yìí pé ká pàdé lọ́jọ́rú ogúnjọ́ oṣù kẹsàn-án ní rally location 78 UN General Assembly 405 West 45th Street New York City New York 10017 fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ lẹ́yìn síwájú sí i tàbí fún ọ̀kan ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n ìbéèrè tẹ́ bá ní ẹ̀kan sí wa látòrí èyíkéyìí wẹ́bsáìtì yìí www.megarally.org tàbí www.yorubaworldmedia.com ó sì lè jẹ́ www.ysdm.org bákan náà ni ẹ lè pè tàbí kẹ́fì àtẹ̀jíṣẹ́ sọwọ́ sí Prophet Ayọ̀délé Olúmúlolúwa lórí +1-803-846-1116 Mrs. Jùmọ̀kẹ́ Ògúnlẹ́yẹ lórí +1-347-708-19 Dr. Sabi lórí +447-440-715-542 Mr. Gani Alágbàlá lórí +1-713-875-3339 Koiki Media lórí +447-594-050-979 Ìyálóde YSDM lórí +447-442-177-677 Mr. Abiodun Ojo lórí +1-347-301-8360 ẹ má gbàgbé wípé a fẹ́ kí gbogbo ènìyàn tó pọ̀ lágbàáyé ti wà ní sẹpẹsẹpẹ ní venue lọ́jọ́ Wednesday ogúnjọ́ oṣù kẹsàn-án lọ́jọ́ tó jẹ́ dídé gan láti sọ fún gbogbo ayé wípé ó tó gẹ́.
wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. Wọ́n ní pé ènìyàn ṣe jọ lọ́wọ́ bá wọ́n ní kò lè pọ́sibú àmọ́ wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní bí ó ti àwọn ibi pé kò lè pọ́sibú wẹ́rẹ́wẹ́rẹ́ bàbá mi wọ́n ní. One is in the ocean, one is only possible. I'm aware. Baba, why you be only possible? Baba, one one is in the ocean, one is only possible. I'm aware. Baba, why you be only possible? Baba, one in the ocean, one is only possible. I'm aware. Baba, why you be only possible? Baba, one in the ocean, one is only possible. I'm aware. Baba, why you be only possible? Baba, one
Awala ni si agbe. Ẹnu ẹni gbogbo àjàwà. Bàbá wa ṣe. Awala ni si agbe yìí. Yorùbá nation ni. Bàbá wa ṣe. Ó yà ẹ̀yà wo ni sáré. Nígbà owó ṣá. Orí tí o bá wà. Gbádùn ẹ̀. Bóyá o ṣe ń gbádùn sìgá. Kò lè possible. Àní wẹ́rẹ́. Ó bá wa ṣe. Kò lè possible. Ọ̀rọ̀ ṣì. Bàbá mi ṣe. Mo ń padà bọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ ẹ̀. Wẹ́rẹ́. Agbọ́dọ̀ now go straight to ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà lórí Ọláyọmí Kóìkì. A máa disconnect yín nísìn ẹ ní láti lọ darapọ̀ mọ́ the backup YouTube channel ọ̀kẹ́ lọ sórí Facebook or the other platforms láti lọ wo Star Radio. Koiki Media bringing the work closer to your doorstep. So Koiki Media will be turned off. You can go to other platforms where you can be able to watch it. Thank you so much.
Ganduje has urged People's Democratic Party and the Labour Party to accept the verdict of the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal, which upheld the victory of Bola Tinubu at the February 25th, 2023 elections. But do you think that was
time to waste.
an acceptable judgment that was given? Or as we say,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
in judgment or in the judiciary or in law, evidence is the game. Well, maybe they were not able to give the necessary evidence that they need to give. Those who were saying that, well, we think that there were lots of anomalies when it came to the election, couldn't prove good enough to tell us exactly what has happened there. But well, you want to know somebody who monitored the whole thing and brought you a program that discussed the whole issue? Then that is my brother, colleague, and co-presenter, Mr. OLAYOMI Koiki in North London studio, who this morning has joined me. And let me say, Yomi, good morning.
Well, a very good morning to you back in the studio, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers from around the globe, and welcome once again to the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. My name is OLAYOMI Koiki, And it's good to be back with you, Mr. Archie. Good morning, Frank, and good morning to all the sound engineer and those behind the scene, and making sure that we are live to our listeners. And good morning to those that have joined us on the sister broadcast from the TikTok to the Twitter space, and also to the Facebook. And I say good afternoon to those on the other side in Japan, and likewise Malaysia, and somewhere in New Zealand, Australia. I'll come back again to you in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Yes. How are you doing, and how was your night?
Well, I think, when your wife gives birth and if there is no complication, you are likely to come back home and rejoice and just prepare for the events that will start unfolding and the noise in the house. And I think, after the whole Niger Voices yesterday and the whole event that was unfolding back in Abuja, I think I had a very beautiful night for someone like me that believes that the right to self-determination is the only way forward in Nigeria. But as we also have to respect as many Nigerians that believe that, the only other option is to keep Nigeria, and that means that the election must continue. So I had a very peaceful night, but I'm not too sure whether our other colleagues from the Labour Party and the PDP might have slept very well, but I did sleep very well.
Well, listeners, that is Mr. OLAYOMI Koiki for you. Well, he did sleep very well. Some couldn't sleep very well because of the verdict that came. But how did you take that, the whole judgment, the verdict? How did you actually see it? We'll be telling you more about that in a moment. But yesterday, we had the opportunity of once again bringing you the Niger Voices with Mr. OLAYOMI Koiki, where we touched on the verdict again. There were lots of reactions. Now, during his presentation, his first part of the statement this morning, he was saying that he thinks that the only way forward is self-determination, where you have to actually have your own place. We decide how we want to. So going back to the regional government thing, where maybe some way, somehow, that will bring about the good fortunes of the country or turn it around. But what do you think about that? He's going to be telling us just a sneak view of what happened on the Niger Voices, the reaction of people after that verdict yesterday. Over to you, Yomi.
Well, I think going back to as many of our viewers and listeners from the two platforms, I think we probably reached close to 50,000 viewers yesterday. And, because STARR Radio UK is a trusted platform that many Nigerians wants to get the hang of what actually was happening. And we were able to do that, throughout the program. We were able to balance the situation. Even we had members of the APC that also join us, from Lagos, that are also as the PDP, and likewise, the Labour Party. And like we always say, the STARR Radio UK believe in everybody's views as much as, we are not biased. So, when I went back and look at, the listeners, I thought, I think we did a bit of justice to it. But the most important part is that you can also be part of the program, and that comes up every Wednesday from 1800 hours up to 8:30. That is about 2100 hours or 2000 hours. What did we discuss yesterday? We talked about the PEP verdict, which is part of what we're going to be discussing later on this morning as well. And I believe many believe that justice has been served, as much as others believe that the judiciary were a little bit either being paid off or biased. I don't have the evidence to such. I can only take what people are saying, but again, those are allegations. But from what we discussed on the STARR Radio network yesterday, I can literally say that, yes, many have now accepted that they just have to move on and wait for the next 4 years. But many of the supporters think that they might have to finish up the job by going into the Supreme Court as well. But again, if you've missed all that, they can still be watched on the STARR Radio UK social media platform, and likewise our apps that can be downloaded on the Play Store.
Okay, listeners, that is a sneak view of what took place on the Niger Voices yesterday. So for those of you who missed out, you can go to the STARR Radio UK YouTube or the Facebook or the Twitter, and then you can get that broadcast. And all the sister platforms that we use for this broadcast, you can just go there and have a re-listen to it. Maybe you want to catch up, or maybe you want to write a thesis about how election petition goes or anything. It will help you a great deal. We have all all documented there for you. All right then. Listen to Star Radio UK in our North London studios, Mr. OLAYOMI KOIKI. I'm Archie here in the South studios, and we are bringing you updates from Nigeria. Now, let's now come to, the reaction of, first of all, the victors. So when I say the victors, the APC. Now we have the president who has come out to say, he's saying whether congratulating the judges for a good job done. We have PDP and Labour Party also saying different things. So what has been the reaction from these three camps? Can you just give us one after the other, and then let's say?
You're quite right. Remember that the president is currently in India for the G20 summit that is coming up in the next couple of days. And yes, you're quite right. There have been reaction from the president all the way in India. And I think we might just have a sneak view of what was said by the president in just about a few minutes. But first and foremost, the president is now saying that we must have to move on and accept that the result is now concluded by the election tribunal, which remember the president was more about anyone that does not feel very comfortable should go to court. And this was part of the reaction yesterday from the presidency. And we could see behind the camera, which I'm watching right here, the president was also monitoring what was happening on the ground from India. And when the whole event eventually became that the president won that election, this was how the celebration started. And you can tell that it is a full celebration in India with part of the ministers and some of the governors that traveled with the president. That is the reaction coming from India. But back in Nigeria, the vice president is saying democracy not our destination but the journey. Shetima says just after the tribunal. And also, it seems that the president have been able to secure the first 3 billion deal still investment pledge for Nigeria in India. That has been the reaction from the APC. I'll come back again to you in the studio as we're going to be looking at the reaction coming from the PDP, Peter Obi, and Atiku Abubakar under the PDP as well.
Well, listeners, Star
Peter Obi under the Labour Party, rather.
Listeners, Star Radio UK, Mr. OLAYOMI KOIKI in our North London studios. I'm actually here in the South studios. We are looking at updates from Nigeria. But looking at the verdict yesterday from the PEPTS, right? Good. Okay. So now let's now the reaction from the presidency and the statement that the president has made. We'll come to Labour and the PDP now saying that look. We have to now work together. We need to come together. We have to forget about it. Now, when it comes to elections on the African continent, this is proper. You need to find a capital to do it. This is big money that people have to use to do that. Okay, so this is big money that people have lost. So if he's just saying, you know what, yeah, let's come together, do you think they're going to do that? Or he just said it? I mean, everybody becomes president and say, oh, we all have to become one, and then is it something that you think that from the statement he really means it, or something to say so that everybody will say, oh yeah, let's relax, let's chill? You know what I mean?
Remember that you did ask the question yesterday, if we can have a kind of a unity government. What do we mean by a unity government? Remember that this government is actually now claiming the full ownership of the election result, and even after the PEP, the Presidential Election Tribunal, have come out to say that he's still the president. The question about the unity government will be whether the other opposition are ready to work so that they can then become a checkmate, just like we have it here in UK, where we know that at some point there are parliament, but we still have opposition. Will the opposition now ready to criticize and probably checkmate the government will be the question, rather than a unity government, because I'm not sure whether Peter Obi wants to get any kind of appointment under Bola Tinubu. That I don't think would be his best option. Likewise, Atiku, but I can't speak on their behalf. We have to wait to see whether that friendship hand will be accepted by the two candidates. But from what we are hearing yesterday is that the two other political parties are not accepting the tribunal, and there's going to be a litigant might resort to self-help if Peter Obi's lawyer has won already. Dr. Levi Uzoku, the senior advocate of Nigeria and the lawyer of the Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, is vowed to appeal the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, PEP, that upheld the election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was actually speaking after the judgment yesterday. The judgment went for a very long time, and we saw many of both sides sleeping at the court premises. You can tell, inside the court rather, you could tell that, the stress. But it seems that Peter Obi and Atiku will be appealing again to the Supreme Court.
Okay, now, fine, so they'll be appealing. We all agree to that. Now, when it comes to the judgment that came, the dual citizenship, has Bola Tinubu actually got a Guinean and Nigerian citizenship, or has he ever had a Guinean citizenship before?
Well, I think the two parties could not prove as much as a lot of what was being said against Bola Tinubu, from drug to dual citizenship to even what we can call his identity. It seems that his identity is not something that many Nigerians know, but all this could not be proved according to PEP, and that literally means that these allegations were thrown out, as much as many Nigerians might not accept what the judges have said, but the judges are going in accordance to what was brought forward in the case of the tribunal itself. But like I said, many Nigerians will still have to digest what took place on the 6th of September in Abuja yesterday. But it seems that, like I said, if your wife gives birth without any complication, you might just have to come back home and prepare. But if there's a kind of complication, then you might have to keep going back to the hospital and get it fixed. And it seems that Peter Obi and Atiku are still looking for the Supreme Court to fix this election matter that took place on the 25th of February this year.
Okay, listeners, it's STARR Radio UK. If you want to go on, we'll go on for some time. But let's look at the statement that Shetima did make. He said, well, the democracy that we are practicing is not a destination, but a journey. Meaning that, well, we're going to be having some challenging times on the way. But another story that I picked up, that pertains to that of the chairman of the APC, also saying that, well, okay, I think it was another story that I picked. I picked the headline from somewhere. But he was saying that, well, the INEC cannot run an election that we will say that this one is a perfect one or a free and a fair election. So the fourth position, what they're trying to say is that all the elections that we will have will never represent exactly what the people are saying. Yomi.
Well, that means that we'll have to amend the constitution, to be able to allow INEC to give us, a fair and credible election. The election itself, from the international observer, was not credible when it comes to many issues surrounding the election that was played out. But INEC has been given a power under the constitution to conduct the election every 4 years, and they've done exactly what the constitution have told them to do. But if you are not able to prove certain things, against INEC, maybe we're going to have to go back and review the 1999 constitution itself. Remember, the constitution itself has not been a perfect one because it was a military diktat, but many believe that since there is amendment going on, it will take time before we get to where INEC itself will be able to give Nigerians a credible and fair election.
Well, will that happen? That's the question on the lips of most people. Will that ever happen? And this is where we ask the question again. When it gets to a point where people are thinking that, look, our rights are being trampled upon, our choices are not, we are not being heckled to, we are being marginalized, then you get what I'm saying? I wouldn't say the rest there. But we're seeing it happening on the African continent when an hour after somebody announced himself that, look, I am the president, I've won. Then the next moment the military say, no, we've taken over. And that is Ali Bongo's story for Gabon. But we thank God that nothing of the such happened yesterday after the verdict. But has we had before the court proceeding took place, we had the APC, some supporters in there who were threatening. And then we had some supporters of the PDP and LP who were also there, whether demonstrated outside the court and stuff like that. How was their reaction? Did maybe OB speak quickly to them, calm down, I'm going to go to the Supreme Court, there's no need to worry, did Article or any of them? Is that what they did to calm them down? Or is it the presence of the military that stopped these ones from maybe doing whatever thing that they wanted to do? Well,
I think, the expectation yesterday, there was tense. Remember, the DSS released some statement just 24 hours before the election tribunal was going to be announcing the judgment. But it seems that since everything went for a very long period, much was not really pushed out. I don't think those that came out wanted to stay that long. So it seems everybody must have gone back home. But again, we don't know what was being discussed behind the scene or behind the curtain by these two political candidates to their followers. But all I've seen is that everything was very quiet yesterday.
Okay, so it's good. We thank God that at least, as Yomi said, if your wife goes to the labor ward to give birth and then give birth and they are all okay, the baby is okay and you're okay and there's no trouble, at least you come home, you come and prepare yourself for the crying. That's how you're going to take care of their family. That is another story for another day. Listen, STARR Radio UK. Shemi, Adeyemi, good morning. It's a good morning, Archie and Koiki and the rest of the team. We salute you as well. We thank God Nigeria has not happened to you, as we say on this platform. Well, it's gone what? To 11:27, and let's move on with some of the other stories making the rounds this morning. Now, interestingly, we have the labor union, the NLC, that is telling the workers to go back, but it looks like the workers don't want to go back. So what is going on there, Yomi?
Well, it was just only a 2 days protest that was called. It's not an indefinite one. So the labor believe that they've been able to justify that 2 days that was called, even though some other states did not attend it. But the Nigerian workers' strike are just trying to force the president to reverse reforms, but the president is not ready, to look into that. But again, the NLC has ended the strike, urged members, to maintain steadfast, and they'll be able to resolve, the problem. The Nigerian Labour Congress yesterday ended what we know as a 2-day nationwide warning strike, but they are encouraging their members to maintain their steadfast that will resolve if the government fails to provide appropriate response to their demand. What has been their demand is that there must be some kind of cushion after this was how they started the engagement in Aso Rock, but again, that has not really yielded the outcome. We know that palliatives have been distributed across the state, but the workers are still not yet been sorted out, and that is part of the problem this morning. Jaro, while appreciating members for their invaluable contributions and steadfast dedication to the cause of the struggle, said the body was not unmindful of the actions of the de factos and the fifth communists, saying that in the face of them all, it remained undaunted and there will be more to defense of the Nigerian workers and people at any given time. So it seems that we might be getting maybe the kind of 2 days, 1 day that we get here in UK, but they are still saying that they might go for the full indefinite that will then probably make more impact. I think the 2 days did not push that impact, but according to the president of the NLC says it was a successful one.
Okay, if it is a successful one, we hope to see. We know that the president went to some talks with them and pardoning them for all sorts, and then we think that because they said that they embarked on a strike when the courts have said that they shouldn't embark on a strike. So they said, okay, yeah, we've just quashed all that. But they think that they have to fight the interests of their people or their followers, and that's what they've been doing. Listen, let's start ready. Okay, now let's look at one area that is quite troubling. Somebody asked this question behind the scenes, asking that the various groupings. I'm talking about the Yoruba. I'm talking about the Igbos. I'm talking about the Southeast, the Southwest, and then the Middle Belt. Now, what have been their reaction to the verdict there? Is it something that they look at and think, okay, like the Southwest thinking, well, Tinubu hails from our place, and therefore maybe with his authentication by this court or the appeals court, that is it. We are going to get what we need, or we are no more going to be marginalized. What has been the reaction from the various quarters? Yomi, please.
I think the reaction has not, there's no statement yet from the leader of the self-determination movement, neither from those campaigner of the Biafra, but the reaction have always been on the social media where we can be able to gauge what people are saying. As much as it hasn't gone in the favor of the two political parties, it seems that there are now individuals that are saying that maybe it is time that Peter Obi reach out to Simon Ekpa and then be able to work with him from the perspective of what we called the Biafra. And that has been some kind of reaction. Nigeria is not one. In Nigeria, this is coming from Oduluke Ipolitus Ifeanyichukwu. Nigeria is not for the Igbos. The only way out is freedom. Peter Obi should put a call through to Simon Ekpa. Let's do these once and for all. I don't know whether that is going to happen. Another one says, Prince Doze Baba Agua, Simon Ekpa will laugh at us today. That is also coming from there. So you can see that even as much as there hasn't been any reaction yet, but based on the conversation on the social media, the Yorubas believe that it is definitely for Tinubu to be the president since Buhari was there. So there's no doubt for him not to be there. But those campaigner of self-determination, I was looking at the Yoruba Self-Determination World Media yesterday, and their own is that Tinubu only has the first 4 years to lead the country, then he might get the second time, nobody knows. That will be subject to if the voters vote him back, especially knowing that Tinubu was really, really challenged by Peter Obi and Atiku. Should these two form a formidable union just before the next election, which is now a countdown, because 3 years, in the next 4 years, will be the final of the campaign. So 4 years is not normally the term. We talk about the 3 years running as a president. That literally means that Tinubu might have to prove to so many Nigerians that didn't vote him to convince them so that he can be able to get the second term. Not literally those from the southwest, but again, the whole country, so that he can be able to finish his 8 years tenure. But the self-determination have always stood with their own verse of 8 years would not be able to rectify and fix Nigeria, even if Tinubu meets as many investors around the world. We will only find out after he has left the office, just as the 8 years of Buhari. I remember the Yoruba man that was the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo. We are now told by so many analysts around the world that the Nigerian economy got more damage during the tenure of the former president Muhammadu Buhari and Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
Well, now he's giving Yemi Osinbajo a bad name. You see? Well, listen, I STARR Radio UK. Well, he was a boss man. So it is the updates from Nigeria on the Thursday edition of the morning show. Now let's move on to some other stories. The consumer protests as federal government hikes electricity meters price by 40%. Now this is electricity, well, NEPA, that we know that it's never stable. And now you want to get people to be using that, and now you hike the meters. So what, especially now that people are desperate. Now, don't you think that they'll use foul means to get the power, maybe tap the whatever that way? What has been a reaction from the public pertaining to this 40% hike on meters?
Well, electricity is the most important key to any economy around the world, and it's not cheap, even here in Europe. But many Nigerians will be waking up as more toxic is coming into the country when it comes to the fuel subsidy has been removed. We're now talking about hike in the increase of the single phase and the 3-phase per meter electricity meters. Declare that the hike actually takes effect from yesterday. It was announced. It announced this is an order released by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which jointly signed by the Commission Chairman Sanusi Gaba at his Commissioner Legal Licenses and Compliance. In order, the government stated that a single-phase meter would now cost you 81,975 naira 16 kobo from the previous price of 58,661 naira 69 kobo. So we're talking about almost 30,000 naira on that, while the price of the phase 3 meter was raised to 143,836 naira 10 kobo from 109,000. But again, our consumer have kicked against this. But explaining why the cost of the meters, the next said it was to ensure a fair and reasonable pricing of meters to both the meter asset provider. Many households do not have the meters, and that literally means that you would have to rely on fixed price of fixed price of electricity coming to you. If family members also at home do not have such, and that literally means that even whether they have the light or not, every month they are bringing close to about 12,000 naira monthly bill. And you might wonder, maybe that is cheap, but again, for household that is not using much, and the household that is not also making much income, because we know that most of the state have not been able to pay 30,000 naira. So every 10,000 naira in the price of electricity is quite expensive. But again, many Nigerians cannot afford to get the meter, and they have to rely on the monthly bill. Right here in UK, you have the option to either go on a pay-as-you-go or monthly, and you will then be able to work out how much you're consuming in the house.
Well, listeners, if you are a consumer in Nigeria, if you live in Nigeria, you got a house or you got a business that you depend on electricity, there is some information there for you. Olaoluwa Oguntola, just good morning to you. So good morning to all of us on STARR Radio UK. Thanks for keeping us up to date with the situation report from West Africa. We salute you, sir, for joining us as well. Okay, now, interestingly, before I leave, I'll allow you to go on to some of the other stories that you have for us. You know, the president has reacted to what former President Obasanjo said pertaining to the Port Harcourt refinery. He's telling him, man, you're not an engineer. because Obasanjo was saying that he's had he had a chat with Shell then back in the day whilst he was president, and telling them that he wanted to give them the opportunity to eventually take about 50% invest in the refinery, blah blah, and they give all the reasons why it wouldn't work. But Tinubu is very optimistic, saying that it's going to work, and telling the former president, an engineer, Yomi.
Well, we have to wait 3 months to see if the Port Harcourt refinery will start the production and be able to do what refineries are meant to do. I mean, we know that the former president of Obasanjo, is a good critic when it comes to, many of the president after he left the office. But again, I think Bola Tinubu is trying not to have any kind of row with him, because there was tension, though he visited him just as the campaign trail was going on. He's now the president. He wants to focus on the job that he has been allowed to, based now on the fact that the tribunal have said Tinubu is still the president. But Obasanjo critics against this government is not going to end anytime soon, just as it was the same when Buhari was in power.
Okay, so let's see what happens there. Yesterday, whilst we were on air, information came through saying that, the Murtala Mohammed International Airport was on fire. At some point, places were on fire. Air traffic controllers have been relocated. So those of us who were going to travel yesterday to Nigeria or to the Murtala Mohammed Airport would have been having problems. I don't know where their planes landed and stuff like that. But Yomi, tell us more about that and bring us the rest of the stories that is making the rounds this morning. Over to you, sir.
You're quite right. Traveling could sometimes mean that if there's a problem at the airport, like we saw in UK, the glitch literally threw as many travelers, both and those coming back home. Yesterday, there was a fire at the wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, one of the most busiest airports in Nigeria, apart from the Nnamdi Azikiwe as well. But the air traffic controllers at the airport has been forced to relocate from the tower at the airport terminal building to what is now called a mobile tower located around Caverton helicopters. And the reason I believe is because there is a damage and they might have to repair certain things, to get that working again. This development came after the fire outbreak at the baggage hall of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport yesterday. The fire incident, which occurred just about 8 a.m. yesterday, led to a temporary evacuation of passengers and the airport staff from the flagship airport. But the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria confirmed that the incident later in a statement that was issued. The question now is how soon will this be able to resolve, and how is this going to affect some of the airlines, passengers of the Delta Airline, the United Airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, who arrived later in the morning to the new terminal built with the Chinese loan. So it seems that some of those airlines that was traveling to Nigeria were diverted to the new terminal that is still work ongoing. But just about 3 p.m., according to the fan, normalcy was restored to the old Murtala Mohammed International Terminal Airport. So we hope that many travelers in and out of the country will be able to continue their journey, as we can say. Now let's come back again to some of the other news network happening in Nigeria. Poverty eradication will be reduced, insecurity by 50%. Again, we just have to stick to what they're saying based on what the government with its ministers. Now we have ministers, and most of them have now resumed working and telling us what they're planning to do. The federal government yesterday said that the eradication of poverty in Nigeria will be reduced and the level of the insecurity witnessed across the country by over 50%. This is coming from the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Elevation, Betty Edo. This was disclosed in Abuja while again soliciting assistance from the Nigerian Air Force in the delivery of relief materials and palliatives to the hard-to-reach areas in Nigeria. The other headline is coming to say 17.7 million Nigerians are hungry, while 1 million others face acute food insecurity. About 17.7 million Nigerians are hungry, and the number could increase to 25 million if nothing is done urgently to salvage the situation. Of the figure, about 1 million suffer from acute food insecurity, a term describing people who are hungry but do not know how the next meal will have to come. This is coming from the nutrition officer for the United Nations International Children in Keru Emergency Fund, UNICEF, made the disclose yesterday at a 2-day media dialogue on nutrition financing in Nigeria, and this was organized by the Child Rights Information Bureau of the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the UNICEF. Where are the states that we're going to be concerned about? Lagos, Borno, Katsina, Kano have the highest number of food insecure people in the country, even as she's lamented widespread malnutrition in Nigeria. Again, we know that the United Nations focus this year is on the SDG, the 17. The number one is eradication or say no to poverty. How will Nigeria be able to tackle that? Currently, about 35 million children in Nigeria are already malnourished, with the country having the highest number of affected children in Africa and the second highest in the world. Not a very good news, but we hope this government will do that eradication to reduce poverty in the country. As more reaction is still coming from the what we know as the election petition tribunal, the PDP would address the World Conference later on today. We might be able to give you the update tomorrow. The People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate during the February 25, 2023 presidential election, Atiku Abubakar, will today address a world press conference. This is coming after the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, PET, threw out his case and upheld the victory of President Bola Tinubu. Atiku and his Labour counterpart were both rejected by the judgment of the tribunal. We don't know what is going to be coming out from the press conference, but I'll be telling you more about that later on tomorrow, since it's going to be coming up at about 1400 hours later on this afternoon. This is being held at the conference bill at the NEC Hall, located on the ground floor of the PDP national headquarters. The invited journalist by the party national director of publicity says, "Hello, gentlemen of the press, good evening. This is to invite you to the press briefing. We'll be monitoring that, and I'll be telling you more about that." At 11:46 a.m., I'll take one more, and then we'll move straight to the social media. Many problems plaguing Nigeria, says the Senate President Akpabio. That's Akpabio behind the camera on the back screen. Senate President Godwill Akpabio has called for developing reliances in purifying solutions to the many current and emerging security threats in the country. We know that the reason why farmers and many locations across the country has been destroyed is because of the terrorism, and that has not been really handled properly by the former President Muhammadu Buhari. Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that there will be safety for farmers to return back to farm and get as many produce out of the farm. But again, the Senate President Godwill Akpabio has now called for purifying solution to the current and emerging security threat in Nigeria. He was actually making this call at the graduation dinner and award night for participants of the National Defense College course that took place in Abuja yesterday. The Statement Committee on the Navy Chairman, Benga Daniel, represented Mr. Akpabio. Mr. Akpabio said the college had actually invested in nurturing and equipping the participants with a relinquished strategic knowledge in the last 11 months of intellectual toil, pressure, and anxiety. But we'll have to wait and see how President Bola Tinubu will improve the quality of governance and security in the country. Now let's move straight to some of what is happening on the social media. And as many Nigerians are waking up again this morning to accept the fate that the election tribunal has made their judgment, and it seems everything has calmed down. Hashtag Obedience is trending this morning. And again, the Labour Party is trending at about 79,000. That's the party representing Peter Obi. Again, many of the candidates, and many of, you can see some of the lawyers yesterday sleeping. It looks like they were stressed. That's Mike Ozakuma. And that's also the chairman of the Labour Party, probably getting tired with the what is being said. But again, many Nigerians are now saying maybe we should just allow the government to continue, while many still disagree. I've been following some of their tweets this morning. Some are writing a lot of episodes, and some are just saying, well, we told you that your PVC was never going to give you the outcome of your expectation. But again, in a country with 200 million, remember that the proportion of those that voted was not a very big number, but it seems that the division between the two political parties led to one now being given the final battle to take care and bring the Nigeria of the dream for those that believe in such. Once again, for the self-determination, the campaign continue as this month, September, the Yoruba will be continue with their self-determination rally that was taking place at the United Nations General Assembly from the 19th of this month, where they will continue their quest. Star Radio UK, I will now come back to you again in the studio, Mr. Archie.
Well, listeners, that has been Mr. OLAYOMI KOIKI bringing you updates from Nigeria. It's now gone, 11:49 virtually. Yeah, gosh, 10 minutes to 12. But a quick one before we go. We're talking about malnutrition, hunger, and stuff like that. Behind you, we can see some of the lawyers who were sleeping. They're chilling out proper. Now, because the AC was working, there's electricity, Abby. Okay. Now, did the palliatives get to the places that they need to get to? How were they distributed? Because how we found out that there were some that the DSS were pursuing people who were selling them on the market. So if let's say you and I, we don't need those things. So if we happen to get palliatives now, you might think that, what do I do with it? Maybe go and give it to somebody who might need it, as we normally would do here. But back there, somebody might somehow come by it and see that they don't need that and decide to go sell it on the market. Okay? Or through some dubious means might have gotten it to now sell it on the market. So the question, how did that palliative, how was the distribution done? Did it get to the right places? Those who really need that, are they getting it at all?
Well, I remember that the agency in Nasarawa that is meant to be the one to distribute the palliative were the ones selling it. So we're not saying the individual that have received the palliative are selling it. We're actually, according to the DSS, the agency in charge of managing such disaster and management were the ones selling off, the palliatives that was given to that particular state. We know when it comes to the, the monetary part of it, we know 5 billion was meant to be given to each state.
Yeah.
But some states have said they've only received 2 billion, maybe the other billion is coming. But again, how will those states manage it? We've seen in Lagos State, the distribution of palliative to 500,000 really desperate individuals in Lagos State. Remember that Lagos has about 20 million, maybe about 5 million might really be desperate, but again, is 500,000 enough palliative for those? Is a question mark. We've seen other states making some distribution, but the question is, how much time would they be able to consume some of this palliative? 3 weeks? Because when we talk about hunger, you have to continue to eat on a daily basis. And we don't know what is going to happen. But again, the president believes that the subsidy palliative will continue. But for how long, we will all have to wait.
Well, listeners, let me say thank you very much. Aziz, Yes, good morning to you. It says morning to Mr. Koiki and Archie and all the team at Star Radio UK. And it says Yoruba Nation, no going back. All right then. So I think we have to bring the updates to a close here now because we're taking so much time off you. But Yomi, before you go.
Well, we'll be giving more of the news again from tomorrow. But for now, I think the Nigerians that believe in Nigeria are still looking to what happened yesterday, whether it was fair or not. It seems that the judges that rule over those judgments have made those decisions, and now it's going to be the Supreme Court judges that will have to take the next matter should Peter be an Atiku. But for now, I'll leave you in the good hands of Archie to continue with the program. I'll be back again tomorrow at 11 o'clock on the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Have a very good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, listeners, that has been Mr. OLAYOMI KOIKI bringing you updates from Nigeria. It's a very comprehensive one. And if you still have any comments, feel free, you can post it. And I promise you one thing for sure. I'm going to actually read that as well. But let me announce the lines open whilst I bring you the first tune that I want you to enjoy. Not the first tune. I brought you lots of tunes, but one of this, because of the statement that the vice president made.